right, all right, all right. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Imuna, and you don't know already. I pray everybody is doing well. As promised, we are back to talk about more Destiny Swap, but in not Destiny's Child, okay? Although a lot of that is in the news right now, we're going to be talking about Destiny swapping. However, I'm going to be doing this live because I did not have the opportunity. I did not have the opportunity to do the whole little nice layout that I had going on. You understand what I'm saying? So we're gonna have to rock with it. You understand? We're gonna have to rock with it. We know the story, and if we don't know the story, we are about to learn today. I'm just trying to make sure that I can be heard on this here YouTube before I proceed. We're living in a time that everything that we thought was so it's all being turned on its head, right? And there's so many people who wanted to make it big in the industry. I keep bringing it up because how could you not pay attention, whether it be in the industry, whether it be in politics? It's that type of season right now. People wanted to be big in a lot of things, and they had to give up some things to get those things. And some of those things they gave up changed the course of their life for life, right? I'm trying to see why I can't get into verify that it's me. Hold on one second. And so let me know if you can hear me before we get into she stole my husband. She had took him, Judge. She took the husband. What is going on here? Let me know if I can be heard. We're going to go ahead and jump on it. We're going to jump on it. So this time we're talking about still on Jacob because it's an extension. And then the last episode, I went into exploring the fact that this was a reoccurring custom now. It's becoming customary. It's becoming traditional amongst their family to misrepresent themselves for fear, right? For fear of being run up on by Pharaoh, for fear of Abimelech stealing your your wife, and now for fear of Isaac, his father, blessing the wrong person, right? And so because of this fear, his mother, Rebecca, tells him, don't worry, my son. And I'm going to go ahead and show it on the screen because like I said, I don't have to pre-record the layout today. So we're going to do it live. I'm trying to log in on my phone and it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing right now. But anywho, so for fear of all of what we just stated, they decided to take things into destiny into their own hands, take matters into their own hands. And his mother told him, no worries. No worries. I'm going to don't worry about that, my son. Because if anything pops off, the sin will be on her. But we know that, as they say proverbially, every tub have to sit on pan it on bottom, right? And so even though she wanted to assure him that whatever the sin is, it's going to be on her, he kind of had to pay for the next 20 years. He kind of had to pay. Mama was at her house, not saying that we don't know what happened to Mama after this. But Jacob, oh yes, Jacob had to pay. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and play a quick video really quickly before I get into this. I'm over here saying, give me 1 second. And this thing is not even behaving itself. Give me 1 second. Island Twist follows Jackie Brown, a young girl who finds herself head over heels for the new island boy at school in fresh outer yard, and Jackie has the fever. But as she navigates the ups and downs of her new crush, things quickly spiral out of control when her not so secret admirer becomes determined to sabotage her relationship. So check out the new novel Island Twist over on Amazon today. Now back to the story. Who supported Island Twist. Thank you. You know, when I was doing the Bob Marley, we got big support. It waned off, but more books are going to be coming when I free up my time. But yeah, if you did read the book, go ahead and drop a review so that other people can find the book. You don't know already? So let's go ahead and get into this because, like I stated, I didn't get to do the little presentation that I had going on before. So let's go ahead and get into this old school Bible study style. So the last time we left off, Jacob already pulled the switcheroo, right? He's in the driver's seat now of the double portion blessing given onto him by his father. And after which time, his brother comes in, the one who feels like his destiny was robbed, the one who was finessed, Esau, and Esau is pissed. And he, as we see in verse 45, that his brother's anger was kindled, right? But in 45, that's his mother telling him, hey, let me back up a little bit. Because sometimes people do things, and when they realize the implications of what was done, they want back what was stolen from them. You know, you got a bad deal. You got, I want it back now. So Esau is kind of in this, now I'm not going to take this, this, I heard what you said, but it's not going to go down like that. So basically Esau is in there when he starts crying, he's weeping, he lifted up his voice and he wept. Esau is not having it. His father gave him a little blessing. He was like, your dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. He was like, but by the sword shall you live and shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass when you shall have dominion that you shall break his yoke from off your neck. And that right there, as the firstborn, Isaac couldn't do nothing after he already did something, right? Isaac is like, I ain't got nothing for you. I ain't got nothing for you, love. This is what it's going to be, right? And he has some violence, some violence in his prophetic blessing, right? It goes on to say, and Esau hated Jacob, right? Before this point, it doesn't really say that he hated him. It said that he despised his birthright after Jacob finessed him, right? After the whole Potish situation. But at this point, when he realizes that the deal went through, the destiny has been swapped, his double portion is gone. It says that he hated Jacob. And it tells you exactly why. Because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. So he's like, that is rightfully his. This guy took his spot, and now he has the spiritual, because this is spiritual. Is and not Isaac is still around, so it's not like he switcherooed, the stuff as it is now. Isaac is still here, but spiritually, Jacob has it. And Esau said in his heart that the days of mourning for his father at a hand, he's counting down. He's like, no worry, I'm all. He's plotting. Then he says he's about to take his brother out. That is over the top. Now, some people who feel like they got a bad deal, but again, not taking personal responsibility on both sides, but on Esau's behalf, he negotiated this bad deal. He allowed himself to not value what it is. He said, what value is this up to him if he dies? So he didn't value it at the time. He didn't think it was that important. Ever seen somebody who had a toy, or they had a something in them yard, something, anything, and the whole time them never care about it, them it dash down, it have one pile of dirt on it, it dusty, it look kind of crazy. All of a sudden, I said them have an old bicycle in them garage. And the person said, oh, look at this bicycle. And them take it up and them dust it off and them shine it up and then spray it down and then pump up it tire. All of a sudden, my bicycle, that way I go with my bicycle, fighter broke now. Because somebody saw the value in it, right? And ultimately, because move this little thing here. Ultimately, because it's still yours, you don't want, once you now it's all shined up, you want to see the value. That's what Esau is giving me right now. That's what Esau is giving me right now. Okay. So we're gonna continue. Because this is the kind of the aftermath before you stole my husband, right? And so this is the buyer's remorse that he's experiencing. It says, so he's plotting. He was like, you see, when the old man drop out, me and you, that's him I say, for him brother. Which is like, nah, bro, thou shalt not murder. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? Anywho, and these words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebecca. That means that he didn't only just say in his heart, he had to be like, oh, you see that boy Jacob, that trust me. He had to be talking because they're big enough now. You know what I mean? They're not little at this time. They have age on them. So he's talking, he's murmuring, he's in his feelings, he's feeling indifferent. And it is told to Rebecca, more than likely by a servant or someone who was around to hear what the what was. Like, yo, any DNA me catch that boy there. Trust me, I trouble. Right? And he said, and she sent and called Jacob, her younger son. Because remember, she said, what did she say to her son when he was like, Mom Dukes, yeah, this plan, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. She told him, don't worry, you're not feeling it. If anything pops off, it'll be on her. That's what she said, right? So now something is popping off. Something is popping off. She feels a little bit responsible. She's the one that kind of, with this particular style of plan, not to say that her prophecy, she didn't receive it, but the style of plan that she decided to go with the deception, which is the family, at this point, the family tradition, right? She put back on her husband where her husband had put on her, say you're someone else. He told her to say you my sister, and she told her son, say you your brother, right? So it kind of like, it went back around to where it came from. And she goes and said unto him, behold, your brother Esau. So that means at this point, it feels like Jacob is a little bit oblivious to what's going on. He's like, do. And then I cut up in onion and in scallion and everything. I put in my pot and probably I go make some more lentil. You know what I mean? He don't know what happened. And it says, behold, your brother Esau, as touching thee, doeth comfort himself, proposing to take you out. Okay. And his heart probably sank like, what? I know dude was wild, but this wild. So she says to him, now therefore, my son, obey my voice. Again, arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother in Haran. So this man's life, not only did he swap destinies to a certain degree with his brother, his whole life changed on the drop of a dime. Right? He gets the blessing. His father can't undo it, but it doesn't go over well with the person who feels that they were robbed. So she's like, hey, guy, you got to get out of here. The block is hot. And tarry with him a few days until your brother's fury turn away. So for those of us who know the story, it was not a few days. It extended way beyond a few days. It went to 20 plus years. Oh, here we are now, finally. Right? It went beyond a few days. It went to 20 something years. He was gone for a hot little minute. And sometimes, again, I keep saying this because I'm using this as an illustration. But again, sometimes we do things in life and we don't know how far down the lane this thing is going to take us. This decision, this person, this relationship, this job, it could be taking you far down the lane in a good direction, taking you down the lane in a bad direction, taking you down the lane and you just stall down the lane for however long you stall. You don't go good or bad direction. You just stalled, right? So in his case, he is told, no worry, man. No worry yourself, man. Everything all right. Just tell him in cool off. It says, until your brother's anger turn away from you and he forget that which has done, you have done to him. I don't know if they thought the whole plan all the way through, but it felt like it was urgent because he's about to do it now. Remember, she calls him. First of all, his whole life flipped in like boom, boom, boom. Because he's chilling. It's like, yo, Jacob, come. Get something because da 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 da. He got to make a decision quick. And sometimes, when your whole life flips upside down, you going back to think, wait a minute, how did I get here? It's like make a hot decision quick because he's about to go bless your brother right now. We don't have any time. He had a little objection. She's like, don't worry about that. Just go do it. He goes and do it apprehensively, but does it nonetheless. It goes through, but not without consequence. Right? Not without consequence. So it says, so she thinks, you know what, your brother, I know we know Esau. He gonna cool down and it's gonna be okay and it'll be all right. No stress, no troubles. It says, until your brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which you have done unto him, then I will send and fetch thee from thence. Why should she be deprived also of you both in one day? So she's like, she may, again, like we're saying, she may not have known the long-reaching implications of this little situation, especially because in her mind, she already got the prophecy some 40 years earlier. She got the prophecy before they were born. And maybe she waited patiently for the time where maybe Isaac came to his senses. He had the conversation with her to bless the right child. It's kind of like Jacob later on does the same thing to Joseph's children. He blesses them in reverse order. He gives the double portion to the younger, and the same thing, he does it in reverse order. And his son is like, yo, that's the younger one, and he's like, nah, this is the right blessing right here, right? So maybe Rebecca was waiting this out, and she clearly was, because this was like, yo, we got to do it now or never, right? And Rebecca said to Isaac, I'm wary of my, well, I ain't gonna put that on me. She's wary of her life because of the daughters of Heth. So they, remember, then when they left their land and they came down, they were living amongst the people, right? The servant Eliezer had to go back to Abraham's country to get Rebecca for Isaac, because Isaac couldn't go back to the old country. And so now essentially they have to now integrate to a certain degree with the people of the land. And the issue with that is, and I heard it said the other day, racism, this and that, it's about culture and tradition. Because I'm sure all of these people were melanated. So it's about cultures and tradition. And so the people of the daughters of the land, the female oftentimes are the purveyors of this culture. They retain this history. They retain the culture. They retain the food. And they're the ones who are teaching, the first teachers of the children. So if Esau marries the daughters of Heth, the daughters of Heth are going to begin to infuse Esau's children, and they would more than likely be the Canaanites. So they're going to infuse them with their cultures and their idols and their laws and their traditions, right? So she's saying that she's living amongst them, and she's wary because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these, which are the daughters of the land, what good shall her life be to her? So she's complaining to her husband, like, look, she's giving him another reason as to why she's sending Jacob away, right? Not to make it look so bad. Certainly not look so bad. She'll pretend like she'll send Jacob away because the daughter them out of control. No worry, we still gonna get to you stole my husband. But again, this was from last episode or conversation or study to show how this thing, it carried on. One event led into the next. Abraham's choices, and that almost destiny switch, but it didn't fully happen because it was reversed, right? Because Sarah was going to be the one to bring forth the seed, the promised seed, which would have been Isaac. So let's go forward now. And for those who just joined me, I didn't have the opportunity today. I was busy to do the whole presentation, so I'm doing it live right here, called Bible study, and what we do, right? So we can do it half of the dome, but You know it already. So where are we? So Isaac, he listened to Rebekah, and he was like, no problem. He called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, you shall not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. So that's why I said they were old enough. Of course, they're old enough. They're not little picnic when they did this. He's old enough to marry. So arise and go to Padam Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. Now, again, in some cultures, people were marrying, and still today, although we know in today's space and time, it is not most advantageous, because marrying cousins and second cousin and third cousin, genetically, the pool is too small, and then mutations and things begin to happen. At this time, you see that it was a cultural practice. Sometimes people need to feel like they need to hyper sensitive and defend certain practices. These clearly were practices that people were doing. And we know today, hindsight is 2020, that this becomes problematic. And, surprise, surprise, people are still doing this today. And in some places is, they do it less and less because of the issues that arise with this type of genetic breeding, for lack of a better word, or genetic mating. All right. It's too close in the DNA. So anywho, that's where he sends him, to his cousins. And the Creator and the Most High bless you and make you fruitful and multiply, that you may be a multitude of people. Because remember, again, the full destiny that's on the entire family is that by you all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. So there's something that needs to happen in this particular family, because the blessing is not just for this family. The blessing is for this family, and then that this family continues to bless. It's a ripple effect, right? So he's giving him the blessing that, his father had him, and now you're going to have many, and Esau is going to have many, and then it's going to continue on, right? He says, and give thee the same thing, the blessing of Abraham, to thee and your seed, and that you may inherit the land wherein you are a stranger, which the Creator gave unto Abraham. And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padam Aram unto Laban, son of Bethuel, the Syrian, mother of Rebekah, Jacob, and brother, Jacob and Esau's mother. So basically, he goes to his uncle. So let me go ahead and jump down. And because he goes to his uncle and his brother, who now is in competition for what used to be his. I just want to read this part because this is curious. He's in competition now, because now where he was the lead, his younger twin is now the lead. And so he finds himself trying to get in good graces with his parents. So when Esau saw that Isaac had just blessed Jacob, remember, Esau is the favorite. Not even the favorite, he's the favorite. He is daddy's love, daddy's heart. And to see that all these years he would have been grown up thinking, yeah, I'm the dude, I'm that dude. And all of a sudden, Jacob has your position. Now Jacob has taken the lead. And so when Esau saw this and said that he was sent away to Padam Aram to take him a wife from thence, that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, you shall not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. And Jacob obeyed his father and mother, and he was gone to Padam Aram. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, because he still, remember, he was like, do you not have something for me? Like, set me back on track. Then went Esau unto Ishmael and took unto the wives, which he had, Mahalat, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nabajot, to be his wife. So basically he goes to his cousin, which is Abraham's son, his second cousin. His second cousin. No, Ishmael is his uncle. Sorry. Because Ishmael is Abraham's son with Hagar. And Ishmael and Isaac both have the same father, which is Abraham. So this is actually his uncle's peoples. So much like he goes to his father's uncles, and Jacob goes to his mother's uncle. His uncle, which is his mother's brother. Sorry, my bad. It's getting late. So anyway, he's eavesdropping and he's listening. He was like, maybe I could fix this somehow, some way. And again, I have to liken it to today, when we see that we may have made a bad decision and it kind of took us off course, right? Kind of switched tracks and our destiny is in question. We try to patch it up a little bit. We try to be like, oh man, I wonder what, did I do this wrong? And you try to start mixing stuff around and changing it around to try to put it back on course to kind of curry favor, right? But sometimes it's too late in the sense of it has to play out now. Sometimes it just has to play out, right? Until it comes back full circle. Will be. So he went and tried to do that. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went towards Haran. So we're going to jump down. So he went, because he sees the angels ascending and descending. He goes and asks the Creator if he brings him, he takes him and brings him back safely. Then he's going to worship him. Like he's having this whole spiritual experience, right? This is where he's beginning to know the power of his forefathers for himself, right? So you can definitely read that at your own discretion. I'm going to go ahead and jump down. He actually vowed a vow, okay? So he went beyond to just, praying. He actually vowed a vow because now he's on the run. This destiny thing got him going in the witness protection program, right? The move that he made, the choice that he made has him on the run. So now he needs all the help that he gets. His mother is back home. His father is back home. His brother does not like him. He left everything he has ever known and he is on the run. Okay. So he vows and asks the Creator to give him bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that he can come again to his father's house in peace. And then he says, this is interesting because all of this time it's the power of your foreparents, Abraham and Isaac. But he says, if the Creator allows him to come back to his father's house in peace, then he will be his power. Then he will be his God, right? And so he sets up a stone. So we're going to go forward now. That was 28. We're going to go into 29. So he continued on his journey. I'm going to jump down. I'm going to jump down to when the destiny swapping for again, because he ran from one right up into another. And sometimes when life starts rolling again, I don't know if anybody has had this experience. It's from one wild, fight or flight decision to another flight or flight decision to another one until you done roll all the way down the lane, wondering, how did you get here? This is what Jacob is experiencing right now. And essentially he's asking for where his uncle is. And they told him, so 6. And he said onto them, he was talking to the dudes at the well about his uncle, because he's trying to find his way. Is he well? And they said, he is well. And behold, Rachel, his daughter, come with the sheep, right? So this is where the thing about to turn up again. And he said, lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep and go and feed them. And they said, we cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth, then they will water the sheep. So this is a back and forth thing. Anywho, Rachel comes because she's a shepherdess. At this time, Laban either has no male children or they're young. For whatever reason, he's sending his daughter to go and water his sheep at the well. And it came to pass when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. They said that a million times, his uncle, essentially. And Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. So it's like, hey, man, I finally got here. This is my relative. He's feeling a sigh of relief because who knows where he was going, right? Remember, Jacob is a homebody. He dwells in tents. He's not Esau out in the wild, wild west. So you could understand he was probably in some type of emotional distress on his way. So he's happy to have found a place. And sometimes we're running from something and run right into something very similar, right? So there's so many lessons. He's running at the behest of his mother from a situation at home to avoid some casualties back at the spot, but he's going to run into something that in the beginning appears to be like it's peace and safety, right? For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. Let me know if y'all could hear me, because I haven't even checked to see. I just went right on in and I haven't even checked. If I was talking this whole time and y'all couldn't hear me, ooh, let me just go ahead. Now wouldn't be that the time to be asking. I just got in there and started rolling.
When is the last time someone complimented you on your skin?
Hold on one second. Yeah. Here we go. We go. We go. We go. We go. Like and share the video if you're enjoying this. So again, let me go ahead and continue. Okay, and it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told him all these things. Now remember, just a little tidbit. Remember, Laban of Rediai, Laban of Shineai, because the last time when the servant came to get his sister and he saw all the resources, he was like, yeah, you know what I mean? So Laban Ab kind of shiny. I don't know that his mother had an opportunity to let him know that, yo, your uncle is a special breed. But nonetheless, he was like, what? You come back again and this are the son? Right? He goes on to say, you're bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. You know, he's his uncle, he's the nephew, and he abode with him the space of a month. So remember, when he left, he didn't think he was going to be gone this long. I don't know what the plan was like, are you going to send somebody to come get me? Are you going to send word? Like, hold the thing, I go. She just told him to go for a little bit until your brother cools off. And again, sometimes people get to places they think it's going to be for a short time. And then before they blink, 10 years pass. Okay. And Laban said unto Jacob, because you are my brother, should you therefore serve me for naught? Tell me what shall be your wages. So he's like, you've been here for a minute. You know what I mean? You've been here for a minute. It's now the vacation is over. But Naja, welcome to the conversation. The vacation is over. You know what I mean? So you here, you chilling. I don't know if you going back anytime soon. So tell me what your wages are. You know what I mean? I need some help around the house. What you trying to do? And Laban had two daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Raquel. So we're still talking about the destiny swap and talking about, and I don't think I said it in this particular session, but we know that just weights and balances is the Most High's delight, right? According to Solomon in the book of Proverbs. So the universe deals with balance, okay? So the imbalance is the way it was switched because of the situation, not that it needed to be, but the way it was switched. Because one of the things is that this was cultural. A lot of the things that became a problem in this story and other stories is the culture and tradition of the time, right? So now we're dealing with culture, not necessarily universal law, but the culture and tradition of the time, right? So it says, and Laban said unto Jacob, okay, I said that. So he had two daughters. Leah is the elder, and the younger was Raquel. So the elder, Leah, we don't know if they're twins like Esau and Jacob, but for the sake of this conversation, Esau is the elder and Jacob is the younger, okay? But it was switched. So now Jacob is in that elder position. He has the double portion, he got the blessing, and Esau is in the younger position. So it says Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. I always say the scribes are interesting for pulling that part right there. Like they was trying to tell us she was not like us. I don't know why they did it like that. They didn't say she was ugly. She just said tender-eyed, and whatever that means. I've heard a lot of arguments about what that could possibly mean, but we're going to continue. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, so Jacob, again, remember, sometimes people jump out and say things for whatever reason. Although his father said to get a wife from where you're going and not from the daughters, so he knew that he was on a mission. But it don't look like they sent him with any resources necessarily, because he's saying that he loved Rachel and said that he will serve for 7 years, because he doesn't have a dowry. He doesn't have the resources to secure her as a wife, right? He doesn't have the dowry. So he's like, no problem. He's going to give the labor, and then that should suffice. Now, here's the switcheroo part. As we know, I'm not going to read the full, I'm not going to go all the way too long, but we already know Laban is about to come with some stuff. And sometimes we have people in our lives that know they have another idea. No, they want to use you for whatever they want to use you for, but not being transparent and forthcoming. And because you may be on the run, or in a precarious situation, or in fight or flight mode, or not settled in yourself, or don't have anyone there at that particular time so that you can take right counsel, they use that to their advantage. Because if you look again, I keep saying it, Jacob doesn't have anybody he knows. He just met them, even though they're family. He's making assumptions that they're going to have his back. He has a father wound, because his father, for whatever reason, did not embrace him the way he embraced him. He's a mama's boy, in the sense of he's more inclined to his mother. She is his comfort. And so he's all the way out of his comfort zone. He's in flight or flight survival mode, and he's on a mission to, fulfill the promises. So there's a lot of stuff going on when you look at how and why he's making this decision. Like, he could have said, hey, pay me the money, and then at the end, he could have not showed his hand. He could have been like, yo, I'm gonna work for you, and these are my wages. You get me? And then at the end say, hey, I want to secure Rachel. He could have said, I'm gonna observe her. He loved her, after a month, because they're having this conversation after a month, right? So after 1 month's time, he's like, yes, man, she me like. And instead of waiting till he had the money, he decided he gonna pit on it instead, right? So let's continue. Now, I just said tender eye sounds like shade. I've heard a lot of theories. I'm not going to go down theory land about what tender eye mean, but yeah, I've heard a lot of things. But let's continue. So he's all like, he gonna serve 7 years for Rachel. So he didn't even, the negotiation, you could tell Jacob was green. You could tell he just came home. And a lot of these people in the industry, music, Hollywood, it's the greenness. It's the fight or flight mode. It's the survival mode. Just jumping out there, making suggestions, telling people how long you're going to work for. You didn't even hear what the offer was. The negotiation skills is questionable, right? He just jumped out there. In retrospect, he just jumped out there like, oh, this is what I'm willing to do. He didn't even hear him out. All, according to the text, all his uncle said, Laban said was, what are your wages? And he's over there like, he gonna work. It's gonna be 7 years. The negotiation. It's the setup, right? So he is actively participating. Like I was saying before, sometimes people who have the upper hand and they're negotiating from a position of power, because at this time, Laban has the resources, he has the house, it's his daughter, it's his material. Jacob is not negotiating from a position of power. And when we don't negotiate from a position of power, we are willing to accept things that in other spaces, maybe we would not have accepted. All of this is in the story. Let's continue. So he's actively, even though he didn't actively participate that much in his mother's negotiation to do, he is participating in this one, right? And it says, and Laban said, here Laban Imnona, it is better that I give her to thee, game, than I should give her to another man. Abide with me. So for whatever reason, Laban is seeing the value in his nephew being there. And we see that he wants him to work. He must have heard the whole story. Like, boy, you want to know what Esau do me? And this and that. And this. Remember, Laban been lining him up. Laban lined up Eleazar, the servant, the minute he came. When Raquel came and not Raquel, when Ribka came, Rebecca came and showed all the jewels that the servant gave on behalf of Abraham to get a wife for his son. Laban yai peel up my what? Them have money, man. Right? So Laban is already peeping game. And Jacob at this time is too green to understand that not only is his destiny about to shift, he gonna carry this one for a good little minute, right? And his mother told him, don't worry, the sin is gonna be on her. But just the lesson in life, the primary person to put their hand on it, they're going to deal with the fallout. You understand? Somebody could convince you, just like we saw in Adam and Eve. It wasn't me, it was this person. It wasn't me, it was that person. But everybody had to deal with the part that they played. So I go on to say no. Which part we there? So hear him, no. It's better that I give her to thee than I should give her to another man. Abide with me. Where you go, man? Relax yourself. As a matter of fact, where you go back home for? And you don't know, say, boy, Esau back there wait for you, man. Just take off your shoes and relax, man. Me and you can go and jam in. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel. So first of all, we didn't know how long the man was going to say it would take. You could have took the money and just stacked your dough and then made a one swoop, but he chose not to. So we here now, okay? So he serves the 7 years. And they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. This guy was smitten. 7 years in my work, and I look upon Rachel, I take water, got well, and 7 years, he's like, yes, man. Because the 7 years, she ain't his wife yet. He's working towards it, right? And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife. He said that real Jamaican like, give me my wife. For my days are fulfilled that I may go. So I'm saying, yo, Bridget, at time no, you know. At time no, you know. You understand? So let go that. He wants to go in on to her. Okay. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. Laban is like, slow down. Because the other person who said, no, let us go, let me not tarry, was the Eleazar, Abraham's servant. He was like, nah. They were like, let's throw a party. You know what I mean? They were like, he was like, nah, we can't throw no party. I gotta go. So Jacob was on some same stuff. Like, yeah, nah, just give me her. He was like, nah, hold up, fam. That's not how we do it. We got to have a party. We got to have a feast. What is really good with you? Slow down. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter. I remember I talked about how now this became a tradition, a custom of the family. And one would say, well, that was unjust. If this is unjust, and I'm not saying it's not, then the way in which his sister, Rebecca, deceived her husband was unjust. The way in which Isaac asked his wife to deceive the king was unjust. And the way in which Abraham asked, if we're going to say that here, then it goes and it applies across the board. And Laban gave unto his daughter, and it came to pass, that in the evening he took Leah, his daughter, brought her to him, and went in on to her. So he didn't even take a stop for moonlight gears, stare in her eye, rub her hair, talk to her. Like, what was really going on? Like, you waited that long. You just wanted to wait that long to do the do. Like, you didn't wait that long to like, yo, let's talk, let's this, that. So Jacob is still, he was a homebody. So I could imagine he was ready to wife the wife, right? And again, I have to bring it back to us, especially when we're younger. And if younger people are listening, this is a lesson that people like, YOLO, you only live once, leave them alone, they're teenagers. People can make decisions in their teenage years that throw them off course for 20, 30 years. They went the wrong place with the wrong person. They got involved with the wrong friend. They followed this wrong one up the street and it cost them, right? So these stories are to show and to illustrate, yes, it could be that one decision, but it can cause somebody deadly and change the destiny. Not because somebody outside of you was over there plotting and scheming. It could be just in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's so many ways in which people, the intended path for that person can get diverted. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it was them actively doing it. They could have been doing it in ignorance. So in the case of Leah, it says he took Leah, his daughter. Now, there are other books that go in, and then there's some question of the validity. So we're just going to stick with what it says here in Genesis. This is Laban's doing, much like how his sister was the one, the mastermind. This is Laban's doing. And he took his daughter and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for a handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, so again, him never in a long talking, it appears it was Leah. So here goes a switch. He spiritually switched with his brother, physically switched with his brother. So the same thing that he just did, and this talks about karma, it took 7 years and a month plus the travel time. So 7 years, a month, and the travel time for the thing that he did on one side to be balanced or done back to him on the other side. Okay. So the father switched his wife and his mother switched him. Okay. So technically, the elder got with the elder. So because he's technically Esau, he technically got with the older daughter, which is Leah, right? So now you can imagine he's as vexed as Esau was. What is this that you have done unto me? He says, did I not serve thee for Rachel? Wherefore then have you beguiled me? It's interesting that he was able to recognize at this point that he was beguiled. That's the same thing. It's the words he said to his mother, that he would be seen as a deceiver. He's like, what if he finds me out? And so she says, don't worry, the sin is going to be on her. Right? So even though he was concerned about being a deceiver, he went through. So he's asking, like, what did you do? What in the world? You made me work 7 years and then play the switcheroo on me? And Laban said, which he could have said from 21 Jump Street, he said, it must not be done so in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Now I've seen this. I when I studied this some years ago, I said, let me see. And I actually seen that culturally in some cultures. And even today, I'm bring up my Nigerian West African culture again. You will see that if there is an older daughter, if there are many daughters in the house and there's an older daughter who's unwed, then traditionally that old, and let's say that someone is courting the middle daughter or the younger daughter, traditionally, yes, they expect that the older daughter, because in some cultures, they look at the women, the daughters, as perishable goods. I know it sounds harsh, but they're looking at her as perishable goods. And the longer they hold on to her past a certain point, is the less likely that she would be to get wed or married. So for whatever reason, whether it be because she was tender-eyed or what, Leah is not married. And he knew good and well that if he had told him, you got to marry Leah first, then Jacob probably wouldn't have gone for it. So he finessed him, A, because Jacob probably told him too much when he first got there. B, because Jacob is volunteering things like how long he's going to work, and so he knows he kind of has you in a position that he can finesse you. And then we're going to go on. So at this point, what he felt was his destiny, where he felt this was going to go in his life, just like that, he's faced with someone that he didn't even think he would be with. Because just the same way he was there for the 7 years, he saw Leah there for 7 years. I mean, they living in the same house, on the same compound, in the same area, in the same land. He saw her. So for 7 years, he was all he only, I only have eyes for you. You know what I mean? He was over there singing, I only have eyes for you for 7 years. For 7 years for Rachel. And then in one night, everything changed. Right? I saw a little star, quote star, who was finessed into the industry, and he wrote a song lamenting about how he was under the impression, this young boy, that he was going to get a Ferrari. But the entire time, the person who led you to believe you were going to get a Ferrari knew fully well that you weren't getting a Ferrari. But they finessed you because they wanted to take whatever they already thought was valuable from you, and they had to lure you in with this thing. And this is mostly for younger children that's coming along the way, that may be naive and may not understand that this type of stuff exists. So let's continue. I'm gonna read a little more. So now he realizes that the switch that he did on the other side, you got to take the whole thing, right? You got to take the whole thing. So when he wake up in that mind, I don't know how he didn't talk to Rachel or how Leah didn't talk for the whole night. I always found that curious, but I'm gonna continue. And Laban said, it must not be done so. Okay, fulfill her week, and we will give thee this for the service which you shall serve with me yet another 7 years. So he moves the goalposts. He moves the goalposts. And sometimes when someone wants something so bad, they're in the corporate America, you in the congregation, you in the church assembly, you in school, you are wherever, community organization, and you want this coveted thing, the position, because that's your destiny and that's where you're supposed to go. But it may not be. It may be what you want for yourself. And that's, people personal ambition, that's fine. But some people may feel like their whole, this is where their life is supposed to go, and somebody moves the goalposts, so you do a little more, and they move the goalposts again, and you do a little more, right? Because the hope is ultimately you're going to get this thing, and it's going to be what you've always imagined. Because remember, again, no, he's away from mom, he's away from dad, he's in a foreign country. And this is really all he has to keep him going. And he doesn't know whether or not he can go back, right? So he's also paranoid. And Jacob did so. So he's like, yo, have this party, she your wife, and he gonna give you the daughter too. He gonna give you both his daughters. And then culturally, in some places, this is what people did. Later on, the Torah tells you should not give one sister against her other in her lifetime to provoke her to jealousy. So this is the precedent that later became a law. And this is an example of what not to do. Not to give two sisters marrying, quote, one man, right? At this time, that wasn't on record. So, and plus Laban is just doing what Laban does. Okay, so let's continue. And Jacob did so and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife. So how many years is that? 14 years. 14 years off of one decision to deceive your father and act like your brother and get on the run and go to your uncle and get finessed and marry a woman you didn't want so you could get the one that you did want. 14 years, and he's probably scratching his head wondering, how did I get here? Welcome to those who've just joined us. How did I get here? It would take much reflection and he does that way later down the line, after everybody's big and they're going to Egypt, and the Pharaoh asks him, and he just like blah, he just starts telling his whole life story, right? Because one thing led to a next, and it just keeps compounding. Especially for him, it kept compounding, right? So let me continue. Which about me then? And Laban gave Rachel his daughter Bilhah, his handmaid, to be her maid. So that's another story for another day. But they weren't out here just, he made sure that each one of his daughters had help in whatever it is that they would need the help for. All right. It says, and he went in onto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. So we're up to 21 years, 7 for Leah, 7 for Rachel, and another 7 years, 21 years in off of one choice. His destiny changed, all right. and the thing that Isaac told him at first, the blessing he gave him at first, he ain't see it yet. In 21 years, the blessing that his father gave him, when he was in there saying 3 times that he was Esau, he didn't see it yet. Right now, we're going to learn later that he's getting finessed this whole time. Right? He's getting finessed this whole time. I'm not going to go into how much, it gets spicy, as we know, a little bit later on. I think as it relates to the destiny swapping, that is the point that I kind of wanted to make, that even though he thought, or maybe he didn't understand the effect that it would have, it definitely affected him on the other side. And for the next 21 years, he's going to be raising his children and being this head, quote, of his family. And he's going to be passing this injury on, right? Now in this story, from these generations, we're able to see how generational trauma and injury is passed on. So because he had issues with his father, and there was an issue within the household, within the siblings that he grew up with, now he is going to be the one who is cultivating this in his present family. Because the first thing it says right after he, and understand, he worked 7 years for her, get it, but now he had children with Leah, right? But she is watching as he loves Rachel more than Leah. In the same way, Jacob was watching as his father loved Esau, his brother, more than him, right? And so maybe in doing so, he sees nothing wrong with it. And some people, when they grow up, our family members, whoever, they may be like, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. They see nothing wrong with what they're doing because they saw it growing up, or they were the recipient of it. So now that they have the power and control, they are going to do the same thing and, justify what it is that they're doing. Right? Let me know if you have anything to share, questions or comments. Feel free to put it in the box. This one I had to do live because I did not have the time to do the whole presentation situation. I want to thank everybody for joining me and rocking with me. Why does this? They need to learn how to put this thing away. It's the only thing I don't like about this new thing right here. Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to share. I could go on because this story is always has so many jewels, so many pearls in this particular storyline, especially going into, as I do often, generation, history, trauma, healing, all of those things, and just to really see how things are passed on when they're not addressed or when we justify them. We can see that right now he's about to pass on some of these traumas that he experienced. So in these 21 years, they're going to kind of backtrack. After it says he served him another 21 years, it kind of backtracks and goes into, how they began to have children, this contest between these two sisters, much in the same way that him and his brother had this a bit of an adversarial relationship. Now he is the person who is in between these two sisters that's allowing them now to kind of go at each other for this man. Let me see if I can jump down a little bit. So Leah starts having children. Let me get to the "you stole my husband" part. She starts having children and she's laying claim to him because even though she's technically, quote unquote, the first wife, she doesn't feel it. Because it says the creator saw that he loved Rachel more than her. She doesn't feel love. So in name, she's the first wife, but she doesn't feel love. So we see that when she's having the children, Reuben, she says, now therefore my husband will love me. Like now it becomes this competition of I'm providing him with children, even though he's booed up with her, and hopefully this will be enough for him to love her. But because of the way in which it was done, it doesn't work like that, right? So she conceives a second son, she calls him Simeon. She conceives a third son, she calls him Levi or Levi. And even listen to Levi, now she names him, now this time will my husband be joined unto me. So 10 months conception, 10 months conception, 10 months conception, 10 months. We know at least 3 to 4 years have passed. And she's still hoping, right? That because in the 7 years, I could only imagine that in that 7 years, while he's with Leah, no, I don't know. I have to go back and read to see whether or not he gave her right after, or did he work the 7 years and then get her. But nonetheless, as we go down, she's conceiving and hoping that he will join on to her. But by the fourth child, she praised the Most High. She kind of took her attention off of the man and she turned it towards the Creator and praised the Most High. And now that she praised the Most High and then named his name Judah. Later on, the women begin to argue, right? And the question was, isn't it enough that you took my husband? Shall you take my son's mandrakes too? Because Rachel comes and she wants the mandrakes. It's some type of ancient, not necessarily aphrodisiac, but according to some of the research, it's an ancient method to conceive, right? Because she was having trouble in conception. So they start battling. They start giving handmaids back and forth. You take this one, you take that one. All of this from one choice. I keep going back to it. And it's snowballed from one choice to one choice. It's snowballed all the way now to another generation. So remember, the blessing is on him. And the blessing was, you're going to be fruitful. You're going to multiply. So he's multiplying, but it's coming with something. It's coming with a little extra stuff that it possibly may not have come with. Because in this point, he's not having peace in this situation. Right? So it's not to say that we don't get to our destination, but the choices that we make along the way may affect how we experience it when we get there. I'll put the link in the box. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to share. I need to get to the "you stole my husband" part. And there's more, but that's pretty much what I have for today. I'm going to wind down here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Let me know if you're enjoying this here study and if you can take anything out for your everyday life, or even at least to pass on to somebody who can use it. So when you look at, there's so many people to look at here. Was Laban just a tool? We know how Leah felt. She was also a tool, right? And at some point she tried to lay claim. Rachel probably felt like she was robbed because, she's jonesing, he's jonesing, and then her sister ups and steals, in her mind, her man. Like, where did they put Rachel when they set this whole thing up, right? So there's a lot of people that now, just in the same way from the situation he ran away from, there's a lot of people in this situation that feels beguiled, that feels robbed, that feels like maybe she could have found somebody who would have loved her. And is it because she was tender eyed that she now has to live this life as not even a choice, really, an obligation, because this was pushed on her? And how did that affect the children? And we know how it affected the children to a certain degree, because the children who, this is why Reuben goes and defiles his father's concubine, because he saw how his mother was treated by his father. And when he went to Bilhah, which is Rachel's concubine, instead of going to, after Rachel passed, and then I'll wind down. After Rachel passed in childbirth with Benjamin, Jacob goes to Bilhah. This is years later. Everybody's born, including Dinah. And Dinah's another one we're going to talk about. But everybody's born. And instead of going to his, quote, first wife, Leah, he has so much resentment that he goes to Bilhah, the handmaiden. And Reuben, his son, for his mother's sake, he defiles the handmaiden so his father could never go to her again. That's curious. So he would have witnessed. Here's the, you stole my thing. I was talking, trying to get here, and then I'm gonna wind down. So this is 14. This is chapter 30, verse 14. Yeah, she finally switched her. Monisha, I agree. She finally switched her attention from the man. Sometimes women do this a lot. They focus so much on the man that the man becomes the god to the person. The man becomes this idol in the mind. And so therefore you're looking for this person, and every time they fail you fall away further and further, until she finally, according to the text, she takes her attention off of Jacob and puts her attention on the true and living power, right? And then she gives thanks, and she names him Judah, right? So that was curious to see. It took her 4 babies to realize, you know what? Maybe I need to turn my attention somewhere else. So 14, and Reuben went in the days of the wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them onto his mother Leah. Again, Reuben is the oldest, firstborn son. He's the one who opens the matrix, okay? And he would have seen how the whole thing got on. And sometimes people forget the children, especially the older ones, are there. And these core memories are inside. They have witnessed, and even if they don't understand, they have locked within them the memories of what happened. It says, then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of your son's mandrakes. Remember, these are still sisters, but her younger sister is mad bossy too. She ain't even asked. She's like, I pray thee, give me. Right? And she said unto her, so this is Leah now. This is Leah, because again, we talked about destiny swap, destiny switching. Is it a small matter that you have taken my husband? And what if thou take my son's mandrakes too? So it's like, you see how the truth is, he worked for Rachel 7 years. But on a technicality, he got Leah. The truth is, for 40 plus years, or however long, Esau was of the impression that the blessing was his. But on a technicality, Jacob got the blessing. So in this particular sense, this thought that, first of all, I'm supposed to be married first, right? This is my entitlement. And on a technicality or deception, that's the only reason Rachel, that he's your husband. Can you imagine? So Leah right now at this point seems over it, right? And a lot of people are born at this time. They over there having handmaid wars, and they over there giving their handmaidens to him. And Jacob is over there like, you get a baby, you get a baby, you get a baby. He giving everybody babies. Okay, he over there. Jacob is over there seeding up and making sure that the promise comes to fruition. So she says, "Is it not enough that you have taken my husband? Would you also take away my son's mandrakes?" And Rachel said, "Therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for your son's mandrake." So she renting a husband, rent a husband. Because remember, he loved her. He loved her from the first time he saw her. So sadly, and this came to my mind, this is here. I've seen it on social media. I've seen it in people's stories talking about men who have the one true love in their heart. But the person who was there conveniently that they ended up marrying, although they're married to that person, within their heart, they have someone else there. This is Jacob's situation. There's nothing new under the sun. Jacob has Rachel in his heart. That's the person who he wants. That's the person who he wants to be with. That's the person who, for 7 years, he worked towards. That's the woman he wanted. But on a technicality, through obligation, he is married to Leah and she is the first wife. Yeah. So she has to rent him out for some mandrake to Yo, Jacob must have wake up a man in time and be like, how did I get here? How did I get here? And she said unto him, no. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening. So the man negotiate the man future, and he is nowhere around. He just go to work to get away from it all. He just out there in the field like, bro, men have nothing to do with this, right? He's still out there working with the sheep hunting. Yeah, I agree, Monisha. This is it's wild. The Torah has so many stories, and it's applicable to today, right? So him have a girl and I'm hot, him Juby, Rachel. And yeah, if you give him a girl, he clearly, because he went and breed Bilhah, Zilpah, Leah, and Rachel. So clearly he was like, oh, you give me a girl, he gonna breed them. He got 4 different mothers of his children, all right? But there's only one woman that is in his heart. And she knows this too. She knows this. So, and she said, and Jacob came out the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, so Leah right now, she's giving, I'm over this, right? She's in a precarious situation, but I'm still trying to sit with Leah. You understand? Because the truth is, so for that 7 years that man was working, that man wanted your sister. You know that. Now, there's a possibility that you did want him, but you must did know Sam did want your sister. Which is giving me like, And this mandrake situation, tell me what else does this also reminds us of. it's when history repeats itself, because this whole situation is mirrored. Right? What does this remind us of? What this reminds us of when Jacob comes out of the field, not Jacob, when Esau comes out of the field and he wants the soup. It's getting late for me. He wants the lentil soup, and he negotiates his birthright, right? Well, that was the suggestion. They be having some wild suggestions. You want this food? Give me your man. You want this food? Give me your birthright. It's like, yo, y'all wildin'. Anyway, so she wanted, because the mandrakes were supposed to help her conceive, right? Because at this time, Rachel does not personally have a child. Rachel has the last two children, which is Joseph and Benjamin. So 10 children were born. 11 if you count Dinah, if Dinah was born at this time. Nope, then 10 wasn't born yet. 10 wasn't born yet. I think it's on 9 right now. So let me read a little bit. Jacob came out the field in the evening. Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come in unto me." So she was like, "Yo, brethren, run the thing. For surely I've hired thee with my son's mandrakes." And he lay with her that night. So they had him like a pass around. What were they doing? Jacob is probably wondering, how did he get here? And the creator hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the fifth son. Because remember, she bare for Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, and then she stopped bearing, right? Now she come back with a fifth one. And Leah said, "The Most High has given me my hire, because I have given my handmaid to my husband." She called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again and bare 6 sons. So it's 6 sons and 1 daughter she gave him. So she alone was responsible for half. So she called that child Zebulun. And afterwards she bare a daughter and called her Dinah. So she was 5. And no, she was 4. And then she came back and had 3 more children for him. 2 more sons and a daughter. So 7 children altogether she was responsible for, right? And then after which point, it goes into Rachel being able to conceive and have children. So I wanted to stop there because the story is very interesting. If we look at it for different reasons, there's so much in there. But again, just as it relates to destiny swapping, destiny switching, and stolen destinies, we see that it doesn't always go as planned, and things can terribly, terribly go out of the path that we think it was supposed to go on. But in the sense of he had 12 sons. His brother Esau had 12. He had 12 dukes of Edom, and Jacob had 12 tribes of Israel. So in that respect, both, and if I'm not mistaken, Ishmael also had 12 princes. So in that respect, they all multiplied in this way. They all got that particular blessing, but what their children go on to do, well, that's another story for another day. Let me come and see if I missed anything. And if not, I'm going to go ahead and boogie. Thank you for rocking with me. I had to do that one live and on the fly. Monisha says that she used to put men that she loved on pedestal, but don't anymore. That's curious. What made you stop, if I may ask? Because that's what happens sometimes, much like in the case of Leah. She may have just felt so honored, to because for whatever reason, the only clue we get is not that she wasn't fertile, because we see that she was very fertile, is that she was tender-eyed. So maybe in the means of looks, the men weren't attracted to her for whatever the reason is, because she didn't get married, and he was even willing to marry the younger sister before her, right? So would you fault Laban for what he did? Do you think if he would have told him up front that they could have come up with a different solution? Do you think Jacob was green in the beginning and he gave too much intel, and that's what kind of made the thing worse? What are your thoughts on this situation and this particular scenario? Was it a case of destiny swapping or switching, or did Jacob get what he deserved? Let me know your thoughts on that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for now. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Have a blessed day. Continue to learn, continue to grow, and continue to make the ones that you love know that you love them. All right? Everybody have a blessed night.